the 2020 West Indies Tour of England, the first series to be played in quarantine conditions, kicks off on the 8th of July at 6 a.m. Eastern Caribbean time. And as a passionate cricket follower, I'm gonna throw in my little opinion on both sides of this battle. The first test begins on the 8th of July at the Rose Bowl, Southampton, and the second and third tests are gonna move to Manchester on the 16th, then 24th of July. Taking a look at the West Indies squad, of course this series provides a few interesting hurdles given the restrictions, as well as the fact that most of these players wouldn't have gotten any sort of real action for months, or even been in the nets. They would have been in the nets for about a month now, training for this series. So I'm going to split the squad into 6 different categories: the top order batsmen, the engine room, all-rounders, wicket keepers, the spin magicians, and the pace battery. And just for the sake of everybody's own sanity, I'm just gonna work with the West Indies as a 25-man squad, and we'll talk about who I think we're talking about. So right up at the top of the order, we have the partnership of Craig Brathwaite and John Campbell. And I don't see anybody else coming into open, because the only other person in the squad who really has pedigree as an opener is Shane Mosley. Now Shane Mosley would have a good chemistry with Craig Brathwaite, given that they both opened for Barbados in the regional competition. However, his experience is lacking. An average of 31 isn't particularly bad, given that John Campbell's average is around that same thing, but with a conversion rate of 3 centuries and 10 50s, it's not particularly bad, given it's most likely that he's brought on this tour for backup. However, Craig Brathwaite has endured some tough times, and these tough times have pretty much been living out ever since the last time West Indies toured England, because since then he hasn't had much impact. And even when I look at the most recent matches on Cricinfo here, you see that his highest score would be an 84, which would have been in the warm-up match in Manchester. Then you look the second innings of that match, and then the only innings of the second match, it seems as if our own bowlers was able to work him out. And he has that uncertainty outside off stump that many players struggle with, and it is definitely going to be tested hardcore in these English conditions against 2 top class bowlers in Anderson and Broad, and then just add to that the extra pace from Wood, Archer, etc. John Campbell, on the other hand, has had a decent start to his career, scoring a half century in his most recent match against Afghanistan. Now, John Campbell is not somebody who you're going to have to worry about edging the slip. It's more likely that you're going to catch him getting out to playing an aggressive shot. He is an aggressive player, and I think he partners Brathwaite well, even with the left-hand right-hand combination. It's a very good opening partnership that I quite like, but there's a lot of cracks in that opening partnership. That being said, it's the best that West Indies have to offer at this point in time, so we'll see how they do with it. At number 3, the only likely candidate I see is Shamar Brooks, who also had a good start to his career, firstly against India, as well as scoring his maiden century against Afghanistan. He batted very well, and even though he's at a pretty late point in his career that he's ended up coming into the team, he has a lot of regional experience. Now getting into the engine room of this batting lineup, and we continue to see some major cracks in this attack. First off, Shai Hope, who has 2 centuries in his career, both coming in the same match the last time West Indies toured England. An epic match as it was, he just has not lived up to the potential when it comes to test match cricket. His ODI career has gone off on a completely different tangent, but in tests, he seems to just be caught in 2 minds, whether to attack, whether to defend, and his weakness against the short ball at pace has really been exposed many times, even in ODI cricket. So he's gonna have to put together some more of the elegant batting displays that we've become so used to seeing him produce. Now, it's a similar story with Shai Hope as it was with Craig Brathwaite, given form, because he kicked it all off with an 83, 1 shy of Craig Brathwaite, and then we saw another score decline. And continuing with class, Jermaine Blackwood, very much a southpaw, but something that he did say in a recent interview is that he's looking to bat more time. Now, how that plays out, we will see, because the attacking nature of him is something we've grown very accustomed to. So we'll see how he's able to cater his game around that. But his scores of 3, 15, 43, and 1 in the warm-up match is nothing to really rave about. And it's something that the entire batting lineup in general has been a concern. However though, a mammoth score of 248 from Jermaine Blackwood, in addition to contributing scores of 68, 59, 98, and 81, paint a very good picture, at least pre-quarantine, when it comes to the regional first-class competition. Now, Nkrumah Bonner, I don't know that much about. I'm not really going to talk about him, but he has put on some good displays in the regional competition as of late. Down into the all-rounders, Jason Holder is captain, currently a concern for both form and injury. Now, it's really hard to judge form, given that the warm-up match itself is just 2 matches that played out after a severely long period of no play. So even though it is the only form I have to go off of, and I am kind of stressing on it, it is the only thing we have, but you have to realize to take it with a bit of a grain of salt, given that the players are just trying to get back to full fitness. Now, Holder is namely in the team as a bowler more than a batsman. His batting is useful and it does take the West Indies out of situation many a time, and English conditions, they do allow for a bit more movement that you would get in even West Indian conditions. So once he just sticks to his processes, I don't see too much of an issue when it comes time for him to bowl, because his bowling isn't that complicated. It isn't like he's trying to impart a lot of pace or a lot of extra movement trying to swing the ball as hard as he can. His bowling is more of a thing of accuracy. That being said, accuracy is something that he's going to have to find a rhythm with, and coming from being slightly injured, it is going to be a bit difficult. If he isn't at full fitness, that is also going to be a concern if he doesn't play, because as we've seen in times past when Craig Brathwaite has been handed the captaincy when Jason Holder has had to sit out for many different reasons, we've seen the West Indies play in a very defensive, in a bit of a limp fashion. Roston Chase is the other all-rounder. Now, he easily fits into the Indian route, but his bowling is very useful, and it's something that would definitely make me classify him as an all-rounder. Now, Roston Chase's form, similar to Shai Hope, has not been that good in times of late. He kicked off his career in emphatic fashion against Pakistan and India. Few will forget that mammoth innings on the last day against Pakistan in the last tests of Misbah ul Haq and Yunus Khan. That was an epic innings from him, and still his best to date. Something that I have longed to see from him for years, literally. I've never really seen his bowling really be particularly bad. There are days he goes wicketless, but he doesn't particularly throw runs onto the opposition. But at times he does lack penetration, especially when the pitch isn't really doing much for him. The other 2 all-rounders in the squad are Raymond Reifer and Kyle Mayers. I'm not going to hop on these 2 for too long. Now, Raymond Reifer is someone who, over the years of seeing him play, I've grown to quite like, and his recent form would suggest that he's been in good form, for lack of a better phrase. The first warm-up match brought him figures of 5 for 60 and 1 for 9, and the second one brought him 1 for 21. Now, his batting in those 2 matches weren't particularly anything to stand out, and just looking at some recent first-class games from before the quarantine, his highest scores there were 47 and 43. But his wicket-taking potential has been there with him throughout, and he hasn't particularly been giving away runs. One thing that really made Raymond Reifer stand out to me was that one test against New Zealand where he came in for Jason Holder. He bowled and got 1 wicket in each innings, which isn't bad for your first game, especially being away, but it was really his batting that impressed me at that time, because I saw his patience at the crease. He stayed there for a long time in both innings, and now looking at the stats, it was 198 balls he faced, which with wickets falling around you, that in your first game, I think it was something very special, and the left arm angle just adds to it.